multiply a matrix with another matrix. If it's possible, the first thing we has to do is look at the order of the matrix. So this matrix A would have an order here. So where this would be telling me the number of rows matrix A had, and this number would be telling me how many columns matrix B had. Matrix A has. So what happens if you can multiply two matrices together? So if I'm going to go matrix A times matrix B, the columns in A will have to equal the rows in B. For it to be possible, that's what has to be. They have to be the same. So say matrix would have to have 3 columns and matrix B would have to have 3 rows. So that's the first rule that has to happen. So when we say that they're equal and you can do it, we say it's defined. It means we can do it. And once that happens, so now we know, yes, we can multiply those matrices together. What happens is the answer, so we might call this one the answer, it's going to have an order where it'll have the same amount of rows that matrix A had, and it'll have the same amount of columns that matrix P had. So that's how we can work out what our answer is. So we'll look at that. So often the very first question you get asked is, can you multiply them? So is it defined? That's a word they might use. So if they ask you, can you multiply, and you go yes, you often write this statement. So really highlight this little statement in your notes, because this is the statement you're going to have to produce in a test to get your marks. If I said, can these matrices be multiplied? You'll say yes, and you'll write this statement out, because the columns in the first matrix equals the rows in the second, okay? This is the main statement that you're going to write, just this part here, okay? All right, so let's have a look at a couple of these matrices. So if it's very helpful when you're doing these is to write the orders under the matrix when they give them to you. So I'm going to write the orders under these ones. So let's have a look. What's the order of A there? How many rows has it got? 2. And how many columns has it got? And what about this one? This one is a 3 by 1, and this one is a 2 by 2. Good. So I could give the question, can matrix A be multiplied with matrix B? So what we'll do is underneath, we'll put their orders. So A was a 2 by 3 and B was a 3 by 1. So what I'm saying is, because these two numbers are equal, can you see they're both a 3? Yeah? Because that's equal, that means this is defined and it can be multiplied. So if we multiplied them together, we'll end up, I'm just going to call it another matrix. I'll call it AB. So I've multiplied them together, and what it's going to have an order where it is a 2 by 1. I'm going to take from that one, and that's what the answer will look like. So notice that one, when I multiplied A by B, it was defined. What happened if I put B first? If we put B first and I multiply it with A. So remember, B is a 3 by 1 and A is a 2 by 3. If you have a look, do they equal? No. So that's not defined, and you cannot multiply it, and that's all you can do is just say it's not defined. And if they said why, you just say because the columns of the first do not equal the rows of the second, and that's it. We leave them go, let that go. Now, our calculator can do matrix multiplication. So it will do it, and if it's not defined, it'll say not undefined. It'll spit it back at you saying you can't do this. Now, but the thing is, in year 12, you are asked to know how to manually, without the calculator, work out multiplication. And trust me, there's questions and you have to show how it's calculated. So we're going to go slowly through this so that you guys can have that, because it's if you get the handle of it, it's a really good skill and puts you ahead in year 12, okay? So that's what we want to aim. On to the next thing. So summarising up what I said. If we've got two matrices, we need these two numbers would have to be the same. They must equal. So they must be equal. If they're equal, they'll use the word defined. And if it's defined, then we'll get an answer, and it will have that many rows and that many columns. All right, so let's have a look down here on our little examples. So we can see here we've got a matrix A is a 2 by 2, matrix B is a 1 by 2, and matrix C is a 2 by 2. So you can see here when they've multiplied the two together, so when they did A multiplied with B, so there was A, there was B, it was not defined, was it? Because these two did not equal, so not defined. But we notice when we do these ones, when we did this was B and this was A, these two numbers in here, these two numbers in here are equal, so it's defined, and the answer will have those two, and there's the answer, a 1 by 2, okay? So, and then they go through the rest. What I want you to, okay? Sorry. So now we're going to get up to, we now say they're defined. So if we have a look at this one, I'm going to do an example. It's a 2 by 2 with a 2 by 2. All right, so we know it's defined, and its answer, I'm going to say at the end, is going to be a 2 by 2 because of those numbers there. Okay, so what a handy thing to do is to know how many spots you're going to have in your answer. So here, because it's 2 rows and 2 columns, really there'll be 4 answers or 4 numbers in my answer. So what happens is, when you're working out, say the answer for this cell here. So if you look, that one it's in position row 1, column 1. So the way you work it out is in your original, you multiply row 1 with column 1. So can you see that A got multiplied with E plus B got multiplied with G, and that will give you that spot answer in there. So if I look at this one here, I'm going to do it in green, that one would be row 1, column 2. See how it's in row 1, column 2? So when you go to work this one out, you're going to use row 1 but column 2, and that's where they're getting that answer there. If I looked at this cell here, okay, this one is row 2, column 1. So what I'm going to do, sorry, I just got that bit out. I'm going to be using, it's paused, sorry. Yeah. Sorry, there you go, it's back on. I'm going to be using, so this is row 2, column 1, so I'm going to be using row 2 with column 1, and that's how they get that answer. And then the last one, if we look here, it's actually using row 2, column 2, so I'll use row 2, column 2 to get the answer. All right, it's a little bit confusing at the start, so that's why we're going to do it really slow. I'll do these couple of examples with you now, and then I'll get you doing some basic questions. We're going to spend some time doing this to get it right. All right, let's look at this matrix A here. What's this down here? What order does matrix A have? 1 by 3. And what order does B have? Good. So we're going to multiply these two together. Okay. So if I multiply them, first of all, check if you can. Can we multiply them? Yes, it's defined. Okay, now let's think about what will the answer look like? What order will the answer have? Good, it's going to be a 1 by 1. We're taking from here and here. Okay, so in here, just draw a little dotted out. I should have technically one answer when I finish. And I can see in this would be row 1, column 1, because there's only one number, so it's in row 1, column 1. So I'm going to use this row, the row from the first, with the column of the second, column 1 on the second matrix. So what it's going to be 1 gets multiplied, so this 1 gets multiplied with the 2. So it'd be 1 by 2 plus this 2 is going to get multiplied with the 4. And then plus, what's the last little bit going to be? What do you think? 3 multiplied with... Oh, she's paused again. Sorry. It doesn't like me today. There it is. Okay, so the 3 is going to get multiplied with 1. So what you could do is then you look at that. You've got to tidy it up. It's a bit messy. So 1 times 2 is 2. It'd be plus 2 plus 8 plus 3. So then you add all those numbers together and you get 13. Is that a 1 by 1? Yeah. So can you see? It is long and tedious. You need to take your time and really practice and get used to it. So I'll do the second one with you. Alright, so let's first look. What's the order of this matrix A? Good. And what's B? Okay, so is it defined? And what will the answer be? A 2 by 1. Good. So I'm going to have 2 rows with 1 column. So there'll be an answer here and an answer here. Okay, if I look, this cell here is row 1, column 1. So I'm going to use row 1 with column 1. So it'll be 1 times 2 plus 0 times what? They pair up. So the 1 gets multiplied with this 2. And what did the 0 going to get multiplied with? 3. Good. And then if we look here, this cell down here, the green one, I've just made it green. It's row 2, column 1. So I've still got to I'm going to use row 2, but with the first, there's only 1 column anyway. So 1 column. So it's going to be 2 times 2 plus, so this 2 got multiplied with that 2 plus what? 3 by... Good, 3 by 3. So then, just tidy it all up to get it into a nicer answer. So this would be 2 plus 0, which is 2. And then this bottom one would be 4 plus 9, which is what? 13. See how that's 4, that's 9, and that's 13. And that would be the answer. All right. If this last one, it's still doing the same as we had just then. We've got a 2 by 2 with a 2 by 1. So when the answer comes out, it'll be a 2 by 1 again. But you've got letters in this one, but it doesn't matter. You just leave the letters in there. So what you're going to do, this answer here is row 1, column 1. So it will be 1 times x plus 3 times y. And this second one here, it will be row 2, column 1. So it will be 2 times x plus negative 4 times y. So when you go to tidy this one up, you can't add x and y's, so you leave it like that. So what actually is, this is one answer, that's 2. So it's still a 2 by 1. All right. Okay, so we're looking at some matricey questions. So in question 1, a manufacturer sells 3 products, A, B and C, through outlets at 2 shopping centres, East Town and Knoxland. The number of units sold of each product sold per month through each shop is given in matrix Q. So they're just giving you a label for Q, and they've got it there. So you can see you've got 3 products in the 2 shops. So here's product A and being sold at Eastland and Knoxland. Now, the first question is to write down the order of Q. So we can do that. So how many rows does Q have? 2. And how many columns does 2 by 3? So there we go. Easy question to start off with. So then they say matrix P, shown below, gives the selling price of the 3 products, so A, B, and C. Now, it says evaluate matrix M. So that just means they're giving it an answer, and they're saying matrix M is when you multiply Q by P. So in this instant, we're in our exam, we're not getting asked to show how we multiply. We're just getting asked to multiply. So this is a chance where we would just go straight into our calculator. All right, so I'm going to pause the video and we're going to do that. All right, so we've just multiplied. We've popped these 2 things, these 2 matrices into the calculator, and we got our answer, which was this. So we had 14, 5, 9, 7, 8, and we got 171848.50. Yep. Okay, now here's where you need to understand what has happened, because right down in the next question, it says, what does the information in the elements matrix M tell us? So they want, what is this? So I'm just going to go back and show you. We did Q multiplied by M, okay? P. Now, if you think about it, Q was a 2 by 3 and P was a 3 by 1. And so what we saw, we knew it was defined, but we ended up with a 2 by 1 answer. Can you all see that? Didn't we? We get 2 by 1. So what happened is we took the rows of this matrix. So if you go look up here, the rows are here. So what are the rows? So that means these are Eastland or Easttown and Knoxtown or whatever it is. So you know that's what that, and we took the columns of the second matrix. So if we go look at the what this was money, wasn't it? It was what the products were sold for. So over here in my answer, this column represents money. So what do you think now? Now that I showed you that, what do you think that matrix M tells you?
Total cash.
Yeah, the total amount of sales at each shopping centre. Would you agree? Yeah, and sometimes it's very hard to work out what you did and what the answer actually is. So if you do what I just did then, go write down what the rows are and what the column represents, then you probably would be able to answer it. So when it says what does the information provide, we're just going to say the total sales for each shopping centre. Okay? So here, and now this is important, it says why is, if you multiplied P with Q, why is it not defined? So I've recopied the matrices here. So if you looked at P, what's the order of P again? It's a 3 by 1. And what's the order of Q? A 2 by 3. So why we can't? So these two, and it's not defined, is it? No. So, but what they're looking for is that statement that we had in our notes, which I told you to asterisk. So explain why matrix P is not defined, and we'll say because the number of columns, so that I'm talking about this, the number of columns in matrix in P does not equal the number of rows. So I'm talking about that one. Number of rows in Q. Okay, so unless you write that statement, you will not get that 1 mark. There's no half marks in maths now. It's either right or wrong, you get 1 or you get 0. So a little bit wrong, 0. Okay, there are 2 rides called the Big Dipper and the Terror Train at a carnival. The cost in dollars for the child to ride on each ride is in the table below. 6 children ride once only on the Big Dipper, once on the Terror Train. The total cost of rides in dollars for these 6 children can be determined by the following calculations. So here's where you sort of need to know how to what happens when you manually multiply. So because the question is asking you for the total cost of rides in dollars for these 6 children. Okay, if you're asking for the total cost, you're just going to have, would you have just one number, wouldn't it be? It'd be one number. So if it's in matrices, that means it would be one number in a matrix, which would mean it would be a 1 by 1. Would you agree? Yeah? So you can quickly look, and let's have a look through and see which ones of these multiplications are possible and which one will produce a 1 by 1. This could quickly help us. So let's have a look. This one is a 1 by 1 and this is a 1 by 2. So would the answer end up being a 1 by 1? No. What would it be?
1 by 2.
A 1 by 2. So we can get rid of that answer. What about this one? This one's a 1 by 1 with a 2 by 1. Can it even be possible to do?
No.
Get rid of it. What about this one? Is a 1 by 2 and also a 1 by 2. So is it possible? Nah, get it out. And then this one is a 1 by 2 and this is a 2 by 1. Now, is this going to work?
Yeah.
So let's have a look and see what would happen if you were multiplying this one. Wouldn't you go run and dive? Is that true? You'd go run and dive. So what would be happening? You'd be doing 6 times 7 plus what? 6 times 8. So there's 6 kids and it costs them $7 for the Big Dipper and $8. That looks like a calculation that's adding up the total cost, isn't it? Yes? Would you agree? Yeah, so that is our answer. And is the last one even possible? We've got a 2 by 1 and it's a 1 by 2. It can be done, but what's the answer going to be? It's going to be 2 by 2, so it's not even. So you don't even have to actually manually do it, but can you see how you could quickly eliminate, and that will help you in an exam. All right, question 4. The table below shows the number of each type of coin saved in a money box, okay? The matrix product that displays the total number of coins and the total value of these coins. So if you want the total number of coins and then the total value, isn't that like a 2 number answer? Would you agree? Yeah? So we are either going to have a maybe a 2 by 1 or a 1 by 2. Yeah? Because that would be a matrix that gives us 2 answers. Because what they want is all the coins in the money box added up, so how many actual coins you have, and then they want the value of the whole money box. So if we have a look, we want at least one of these. So we could quickly look at these. This is a 1 by 4 and this is a 4 by 1. Is that going to give me a 2 element answer?
No.
No, so get rid of it. And what about this one? This one is a 1 by 2 and this is, 4 and a 4 by 2. Yeah? So will this one give me an answer I might like? It would, wouldn't it? So let's just go have a look and see what it does. So if I go, the answer would be a, what did I say? It's going to be a 1 by 2. So it'll be
a one row and it'd have two answers like this. So if we were going to go find this answer, it'd be row 1 with column 1. So if I look at that, I'd be 15 times 1 plus 32 times 1. So that in this sense is, it's like it's adding up these, isn't it? Yeah? And so that would give the total number of coins. Would you agree? Yeah? So that gives the total number of coins. Now, if I went and did this next cell, this is row 1, column 2, so I'd be going this by this. So that means I'm going to times, I'd be timesing 15 by 5 plus 32 times 10 and so on. Well, if you look at it, that makes sense. I have 15 5-cent coins. So that's how much I would times to get the value, wouldn't I? Yeah? So this one is actually looking good. So I would go with this is my answer. In a Year 12 exam, what I would like you to do is you're going to say, yes, I know, I got the answer, I'm picking it, and you would move on. Then later on, and you can do this in your Year 11 exams, then later on, if you finish your exam and you've got time to check, what you do is check that these 3 are wrong. Do you find that they're wrong? If you do it and you go, oh, actually, I get that, that gives me the right answer as well, then you might have done something wrong. So then you'll check and you'll find a mistake. If you check the same things that you just did, it's human nature. We will do the same thing. We'll make the same mistake and we'll believe we're right. Does that make sense? Yeah.